in the spirit of recover together, recover stronger, to expand global manufacturing and research hubs for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. We are pleased that some of you were able to join us in person today, while some others are joining virtually. We do hope that you're enjoying our hospitality. For those of you who join us virtually, we do hope that you may be able to attend a meeting in Indonesia in the near future. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to warm up our morning on the first day of our events, may I please have a big round of applause for our event? Thank you very much for this energy. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the agenda of the day, please be advised about the arrangement of these meetings. Our meeting today will be in the plenary. Later on, coffee and snacks will be provided free flow at the foyer of this room. Lunch will be provided at Grain Restaurant. We plan to conclude our meeting agenda at 5:15 p.m., continued by informal dinner and social night at Poolside Restaurant. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue, let us now focus to the screens for safety measure and policies of this venue. Upon your arrival, please take notes of the resort map and exit signs located around the hotel premises. This sign will lead you to the nearest emergency exits. The fire evacuation route are marked with the red arrow. If you are located in the front of the hotel premises, the first assembly point located at the parking area. If you are located near the beach, the fire assembly point located at the Serenity Beach front. In case of tsunami, please do not panic. Follow the evacuation route to the highest place near you. If you are located in the front of the hotel premises, go to the assembly point at parking area. If you are located near the beach, go near the Temple for Tsunami Safe Refugee area. Our event is held at the Graha Paruman Ballroom. In case of emergency, follow the exit route and gather around the main entrance area near the lobby. Take a moment to memorize our standard signage for fire safety equipment. For any kind of emergency situation, please do dial 88888 and follow our evacuation route and safety protocol. And please do not use elevator. Thank you for your kind attention, and we wish you a success for our event. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, our plenary session will commence with opening from our dignitaries led by our honorable co-chair. So please give big round of applause to Dr. Rizka Andalusia. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. A very warm welcome to all delegates of the third G20 Health Working Group. It is an honor to have you here in person in Bali, the island of gods, and virtually through Webex platform to further discuss on our effort to strengthen the global health architecture, particularly on the expansion of the global manufacturing and research hub for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. My name is Rizka Andalusia, currently serving as a Director General of Pharmaceutical and Medical Devices in the Ministry of Health of Republik Indonesia, together with Professor Laksana Trisnantoro, who is a Senior Advisor of the Ministry of Health for Pharmaceutical and Medical Devices Industries Resilience. We will co-chair the third Health Working Group. The third, colleagues, At this juncture, I would like to reiterate that the third health working group is aiming to achieve concrete, actionable deliverables to create a fit-for-purpose ecosystem of VTD manufacturing and research hub for pandemic preparedness and response, which will bring forward to the second health minister meeting. The proposed ecosystem is built upon the interest which was briefly mentioned during the first health minister meeting, and we want to invite all G20 members to participate and support this initiative and make it inclusive to other entities as well. The third health working group was three deliverables. First, to establish VTD manufacturing hubs and collaborative research hub to support the development and strengthen research-driven VTD manufacturing capacity in G20 countries. Second, to share mechanism and harmonize regulation to ease processes of global capacity building to ensure the accelerated availability of VTD during pandemic health emergency. And lastly, to gain agreeable principles on the establishment of VTD multi-center clinical trials collaboration to support the manufacturing hubs and collaborative research hubs among G20 countries for pandemic PPR. Colleagues, to start our meeting today, we are pleased to have Minister of Health of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Budi Gunadi Sadikin, to give his remarks. Minister Budi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ibu Rizka. Honorable delegate, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the island of God, Bali, Indonesia. Allow me to share with you an ancient Sanskrit philosophy that is taught to every Balinese child since they were very young at school. Tat Twam Asi, meaning that I'm you and you are me. For centuries, Tat Twam Asi has guided the Balinese to realize our common humanity and the vital need to care for one another. They believe that to hurt one another is to essentially to hurt ourselves, and to help one another is to ultimately help ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, today as G20 countries, despite our incredibly diverse nationality, income level, and cultural backgrounds, please allow this Balinese philosophy to remind us of our shared humanity, that to strengthen one another is to eventually strengthen our collective self globally. Through the COVID 19 pandemic, we have learned that the inequitable capacity to develop and to manufacture vaccine, therapeutics, and diagnostic across the globe lead to delays in fulfilling the rapid global demand during a health emergency. Therefore, as the COVID 19 pandemic has started to abate globally, there is no better time than now to work on ensuring not only fair access, but also equitable capacity to develop vaccine, therapeutics, and diagnostic tools globally. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout this year, we have discussed ways in which we can strengthen the global health architecture. We have identified 5 deliverables that we would like to achieve during the Indonesian presidency. The first one is the availability of financial resources for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. And we have been quite successful in this agenda. We have established the Financial Intermediary Fund, has been approved by the board of the World Bank, and until now, more than 1.3 billion fund has been committed. And we do hope that more pledging will come. The second deliverables We would like to have a formalized access to emergency medical countermeasures that we have established in the Financial Intermediary Fund. We are now closing in with G20 member state and also WHO and also another global health organizations to formalize the accelerator. So in the future pandemic, we will be ready with a formal structure organization to address the uses of fund that has been established in the previous financial intermediary fund. The agenda number three is somewhere that we are still struggling. We would like to establish a global network of genomic surveillance lab and strengthen trusted data sharing mechanism. We understand fully that there is a lot of economic value that can come into this data globally. And a lot of countries will be very interested to control this data. So therefore, a lot of challenges that sharing mechanism, sharing the data, sharing the benefit, the discussion is circling around these issues. But we strongly believe that everybody need to share the data, but also we need to convince the country that share the data that they also have to get the benefit by sharing the data. The benefit should not only be given that the country that only have the technology to have the data and develop the products. Agenda number four is we would like to have a mutually recognized vaccine certificate. So next time the pandemic happen, we don't have to 100% do a lockdown. So we limit the movement of essential people and also goods across the globe that kills our economy. And we have successfully agreed to use WHO standard of QR codes that can carry the information of vaccine and also testing result globally. So important people like the pilot or the ship's crew can move around the globe to carry important person and also important goods globally that is required to make sure the global economy can still survive during the next pandemic. The last deliverables is to expand the global manufacturing and research hub for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, especially for vaccine, but also for therapeutics and also diagnostic tools. And that is what we are discussing now. And I do hope after this meeting we can have a concrete agreement on how can we redistribute the global capacity for research and manufacture for therapeutics, diagnostic, and vaccine. For the next pandemic, whenever it happens, we are ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, a pandemic can emerge anywhere in the world. So, a swift response is important to be able to prevent, contain, and respond to this disease. Similarly, once a disease has abated in one place, the emergence of it in another place could cause the disease to rise again in the initial place. Therefore, strengthening the global capacity to develop vaccine, therapeutics, and diagnostic is for our common good to create a safer and healthier world. I do believe our time window to make lasting changes is narrow. As health leaders of the world's largest economies, it is our collective responsibility to now seize the moment to expand research and manufacturing capacity for equitable pandemic preparedness and response globally. My friends, as we reflect on the Balinese philosophy Tatwam Asi, I'm you and you are me. I declare the third G20 Health Working Group officially open. Only together we can recover stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Budi. Now, I am delighted to invite the Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, to deliver his remarks. Please, Dr. Tedros, the screen is yours.
Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, the COVID-19 pandemic revealed deep flaws in the world's defense against health emergencies, exposed and exacerbated profound inequities within and between countries, and eroded trust in governments and institutions. The world was and remains unprepared for large-scale health emergencies. A lack of equity and lack of sharing profoundly hampered the global response. That's why WHO and partners are working to expand the capacity of low and middle income countries to produce vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostic tools for COVID-19 and other diseases with epidemic and pandemic potential. WHO and partners have established the mRNA Technology Transfer Hub in South Africa, which is already starting to transfer technology to 15 recipient countries and is establishing a biomanufacturing workforce training initiative in the Republic of Korea. While the initial focus is on mRNA technology, the hubs can expand to other technologies in the future. WHO is also collaborating with national regulatory agencies to strengthening their capacity to regulate and pre-qualify vaccines and other biological products to meet regional and global needs. I thank Indonesia for its leadership during its G20 presidency and all G20 countries for their generous support. Only by working together in solidarity can we bring the pandemic under control and drive a truly inclusive and sustainable recovery. Terima kasih. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tedros. Now, I wish to invite our Troika colleague to deliver their opening speeches for today's meeting. First, our friend Dr. Silvia Sanasi, Medical Officer for Italian Ministry of Health, who traveled all the way from Italy. Please, you may have the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andalusia, for this important meeting on this crucial issue which the Indonesian presidency brought to our attention. Before discussing the topic of today's meeting, let me express Italy's full solidarity with the Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Italy condemns in the strongest possible terms Russia's unprovoked and unjustified military aggression against Ukraine, which grossly violates international law and the UN Charter and undermines international security and stability. We reiterate our constant call on Russia to put an end to the war it started and to end the suffering and loss of life it continues to cause. We underscore the significant disruption of the Ukrainian health system caused by the Russian war. Russia also needs to stop its disinformation campaign and cyber attacks. Now, talking about today's meeting, supporting all aspects of pandemic prevention, prevalence, and response in all countries is essential to strengthen global health architecture and health system. To achieve this goal, it's our responsibility to increase global access to vaccine, therapeutic, and diagnostics, and increase manufacturing capacity of VTDs, knowledge sharing, capacity building, and technology transfer among G20 countries and beyond. Our discussion proves the importance of this forum and the leadership role that the G20 can exercise on this topic. In our experience, COVID-19 response was most effective in countries with healthcare systems adequately funded and well-equipped in terms of tools, facilities, and personnel. The gaps in capacity slowed preparation and response to COVID-19, disproportionately affecting low and middle income countries by limiting access to VTDs and the research and investment that allowed rapid response in high-income countries. Therefore, global cooperation on PPR with adequate financial support, especially in currently underfinanced areas, accompanied by technical support, capacity building, knowledge sharing, are essential to improve and fasten the detection of outbreaks with pandemic potential, to investigate them as early as possible, and to respond to them in an equitable, efficient, and coordinated manner with the leadership of WHO. Since nowadays research and manufacturing activity still relies on the different capabilities and interests of the countries. Italy, therefore, confirmed its support for efforts to strengthen supply chain and boost and diversify global VTD's manufacturing capacities, and welcomed the common goal of creating manufacturing and research hubs also in LMICs to contribute to a growing independence in terms of pharmaceutical production for COVID-19 and beyond, to prepare for the next pandemic and global health threats. There is a urgent need to scale up efforts, including through synergies between the public and private sector and multilateral efforts to enhance timely global and equitable access to safe, effective, and affordable vaccine therapeutics and diagnostic. As affirmed in the Rome Declaration for a strong global health architecture, we also should address the need for enhanced, streamlined, sustainable, and predictable mechanisms to finance long-term pandemic preparedness, prevention, detection, and response, as well as surge capacity capable of rapidly mobilizing private and public funds and resources in a coordinated, transparent, and collaborative manner, and with a robust accountability and oversight. It is also crucial to revive universal health coverage objectives and to integrate pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response with the One Health approach in health system as an important element. Gender equitable access to health system, in particular for the most vulnerable population, should also be regarded as an area of particular concern. I look forward to a fruitful discussion in the next couple of days, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Sanasi. Now we proceed to Mr. Gopala Krishnan, who is currently serves as the Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, who is also here with us. You may have the floor, please.
Thank you. His Excellency, Honorable Minister Budi Gunadi Sadikin from Indonesia, Dr. Tedros, who has joined us virtually, the chair and co-chairs of the Health Working Group, and the representatives from the Italian side, colleagues, delegates, and all invitees for the G20 Working Group meeting. It's my pleasure to extend a warm greeting to all of you from India. And it's a privilege to be part of the G20 Health Working Group as part of the Troika. At the outset, we would like to congratulate Indonesia for hosting two successful working group meetings in Yogyakarta and Lombok, along with the Health Ministerial meeting and the Joint Health Finance Task Force meeting, wherein the issues of harmonizing global health protocol standards and building global health system resilience were discussed and deliberated upon in good detail. We would like to thank the Indonesian presidency for prioritizing the issue of TB and One Health for the successful conduct of the side events on the issue. During the recently held second Health Working Group meeting in Lombok, we discussed at length on the proposal for establishing medical countermeasures coordinating platform, the contours for establishing the FIF for addressing pandemic preparedness and response funding gaps, and the necessity for a universal platform for exchange of genomic surveillance data. To this end, India commends Indonesia for its efforts and continued momentum for establishing the FIF and congratulates all the founding donors who have come forward to kick off the FIF. Structuring the global governance mechanisms of FIF, however, requires further work and deliberation. While designing the governance mechanism of this FIF, India urges the founding donors to ensure that there is balanced representation of various stakeholders, namely the contributing countries and donors, and also the eligible recipient countries, particularly the LMICs. There is a need for the FIF to have a clearly defined and transparent decision-making process, besides adequate clarity on identifying the implementing agencies through a transparent process. So I hope deliberations will carry forward there. India also commends the efforts of G20 Indonesian presidency for prioritizing expanding global manufacturing and research hubs for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response as the third priority and objective. India would like to commend the efforts at the level of the G20 presidency to organize multiple preliminary and technical meetings with all the member states and stakeholders to ensure that the priorities are clearly spelled out, feedback of the member states is obtained, and necessary consensus is built, which is so important for a forum such as G20 to deliver. India concurs with the G20 presidency that in order to combat the next pandemic, countries, particularly the LMICs, must have equitable, timely, and affordable access supported by capacity to develop vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostic tools. Reinforcing diversification of VTDs, production and development in LMICs is essential for a strengthened global health architecture. The often discussed challenge of globally being able to develop and deploy safe and effective VTDs in a 100-day windows once any health emergency is declared is not possible unless and until countries across the globe, irrespective of their status of development or economy, have the means to develop, produce, distribute, and have the capacity to utilize the VTDs seamlessly. Efforts of Indonesia through 3 group meetings of the Global South multilateral meetings involving the G20 Global South countries to build consensus on the agenda, not only in the LMICs but also among the G20 countries, is commendable and praiseworthy. India supports Indonesia's proposal that the G20 countries should strengthen R&D, research and development capacity, enhance supply chains, and leverage collaboration amongst the public and the private research centers. The Indonesian presidency has pulled through a mammoth task in terms of delivery outcomes for the identified health priorities. Given that the Indonesian presidency has also proposed, in addition to South Africa, having mRNA hubs in Argentina, Brazil, India, and Indonesia, we in India look forward to further clarity on this present status from Indonesian presidency and the WHO, and we look forward to it as another tangible outcome of the ongoing discussions. We wish further fruitful outcomes and deliberations on all the above, and thank Indonesia for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gopalakrishnan. Minister Budi, thank you for being here to kickstart our meeting today. I will adjourn this meeting for 1 minute to allow the Health Minister to proceed with his agenda. Before we continue to the first session on establishing G20 network of researchers and manufacturers related to public health emergency. Thank you. Bapak, makasih banyak.
Well, thank you, Chair. And thank you, His Excellency, Mr. Budi Gunadi Sadikin, Minister of Health of the Republic of Indonesia. To our media friends, we please you to kindly leave the room as we are about to start our first plenary session. Now, let us start the first session in the topic of establishing G20 network of researchers and manufacturers related to public health emergencies.